Hello everyone and welcome to another video. How's everyone doing? Today we're still grinding with the same build. I think I'm officially falling in love with it. We're up against a bit of a challenge this time, facing Warwick and Darius. Hope you enjoy the video. The only reason I'm focusing bot side in this game is because we have a Singed. Normally I'd try to give my top laner a lead, but Singed players usually thrive solo since they are in themselves a superior race, unless they're getting heavily camped. Our win condition here is actually on our Twitch. I've noticed that Twitch players, despite being sneaky and conniving, are often committed players who take the game seriously. So if we can get this Twitch fed, we're in for a great game. A funny thing I've noticed while jungling, most normal mid laners just abandon their lane. They straight up leave it to roam. With this observation, I developed a habit with Cosmic Drive to patiently do my full clear. So when both mids are gone, we just claim the farm, snag some plates, and thank our lucky stars. Here's hoping this happens as often as possible. Since the enemy top laner is hard winning, it's clear that this game's win condition lies in the bot side. I got counter ganked, and usually that's a bad sign, but thankfully, we have a reliable support. In situations like these, patience is everything. Don't tilt, don't flame, just play around your strong points, especially if your top laner is singed. Whether he's winning or losing, your bot side will make up for it. It's almost like karma. Bot side covers for singed, and if he's winning, you still play around bot since he'll likely group for mid-game fights. Redistributing resources from early game through bot is just smart strategy, so don't feel bad about camping. And definitely don't apologize. Camping is a skill every jungler should be proud of. Sure, maybe you feel a little sympathy for top side since it's often a 1 versus 1 showdown. But in general, stand by your decisions. Now we're feeling the pressure from the enemy solo laners because I held back from helping top. If we go in and mess it up, Darius could easily turn it into a double kill, but since we didn't camp top, the enemy top laner now has even more freedom to roam, and it's starting to impact us. Odds are we'll be dying a bit more in the next few minutes, but if it aligns with our timing, it's worth it. With Pyke and Twitch, we've got one of the most broken engage combos. Their invisibility lets them sneak in, pick someone off in an instant, then dip back out. It's as busted, and one of the few counters that come to mind are Rengar and Twisted Fate, and we have one in this game. To make things even more chaotic, the enemy Twisted Fate decided to go all in on split pushing. At first, seeing him off on his own made me feel like this game will be much harder than expect. But then I realized it's not because they're winning, but because they're breaking down and flaming each other, losing the mental battle. All we need now is patience. The second we secure one solid team fight, the game will shift completely in our favor. Patience really is the secret sauce in League of Legends. The more you hang in there and play it smart, the more the game rewards you. We're up against a rough comp with Darius with the axe, Warwick with his insane lockdown, and Sona and Twisted Fate keeping us constantly under unlimited crowd control. This game feels like a walk into a grinder, but our build, Cosmic Drive, Winter's Approach, Frozen Heart, and Spirit Visage, is all about being in the thick of things. It's designed for team fights, where we rely on our shields and tankiness. Especially when we're near at least 2 allies, we get the full value of the everlasting item buff, meaning almost double shields. The key here is engaging properly, with damage piled around me. Without it, I'm basically a sitting duck, a tanky distraction waiting to be taken out. But if we can pull off the positioning, this build becomes a monster, letting us turn the tide of any fight. I'll admit, I was pretty skeptical about this gank. Going in against Darius is risky. If we hand him a triple kill here, we'll be feeding the enemy team's confidence and giving him an unstoppable lead. But if we manage to take him down, it's like putting another nail in the coffin, especially with how overconfident he's been playing. This early in the game, Darius is dominating. There's barely anyone who can solo him in a 1 versus 1, and he's fully stacked with items. So we're in a high-stakes situation. Calls like this may seem straightforward, but they're game changers. If we mess this up, it could mean the game. If we succeed, we won't instantly win, but we'll tune him down a notch and keep the game within reach. That last call was a game changer. It boosted our morale and got us fired up to push for another kill. Admittedly, we got a bit overconfident with our positioning. My plan was simple: have just one person, maybe Twitch, with me while we sneak Baron. But of course, no one listened, and we ended up going for Baron as a full team. Predictably, that led to yet another chaotic fight in mid. Luckily, we won, and it turns out our comp outshines theirs in full team fights, even if they dominate smaller skirmishes. From there, the roles in fights became clear. Our Singed tanked the front, soaking up heavy damage, and us as a secondary engager playing the role of reinforcements, letting Twitch and Pyke clean up afterward. The real surprise, though, was Zeri. I didn't expect him to hit this hard with full AP. One button press, and enemies are dead. Those who survive, they're left for the cleanup. Well, of course, I think this needs a nerf since Zeri is one of those overloaded champions. But as long as it sells skins, it is perfectly balanced as everything should be. That was definitely the right call. Taking down their jungler was huge. Unfortunately, we didn't have our ultimates ready, and most of our key summoners were still on cooldown. What's crazy though, is how the entire team just backed off together in one smooth, unified retreat. It's almost like we're in a pro game, all moving as one, in sync. But let's be real, if this was an actual pro game, the comms would probably be full of everyone flaming each other into oblivion. Since we are talking about toxicity, recently I found that the League of Legends community is considered not just one of the most, but the smartest community in gaming history. In other words, we have the highest average IQ. Based on a study, quiz, or survey made that included a bunch of other communities, we landed in first place. So this is a huge indication that toxicity is highly correlated with high IQ. And there is a secret and hidden controversy about high IQ that is more related to memory rather than intelligence. The fact that you have to memorize every champion's abilities, how they work, their passives, their recent changes, and interactions with other champions increases your brain usage much more considerably than in other games. So yeah, like it or hate it, you are one of the smartest people that have ever played any game in the history of gaming, but just in a bad way. Enough with the facts, let's get back to the game. Now that we have the Baron buff and most of the objectives on the map, it's time to have some fun. By that I mean we've got our FIMBL winter and got a feel of how much damage the enemy does, so it's time to play around them. We also have the movement speed from our Swifties and shields generated from the Soul Drake, which means we're living the luxurious life. The key thing you should do is never fail the bite. Always bite the correct target to maximize your healing. Honestly, I think Riot should consider an adjustment. The more people you have marked, the stronger the heal could be. With the cooldown reduction lately, you can effectively have 2 bites going on, so you can target 2 enemies and get healing from both. For example, if you start a fight by biting the first target, you can then bite the second one once the first bite comes off cooldown. The mark lasts for 8 seconds. And with some cooldown reduction, you can bring that down to 5 or even 3 seconds, allowing you to keep biting. This way, you have multiple targets to heal from, which is a lot of fun. You might notice I use this strategy sometimes, although not all the time, because you really need a lot of cooldown reduction to make it work. To be fair, our core items are Cosmic Drive, Winter's Approach, Warden's Mail, and Spectre's Cowl. If only I could fuse Warden's Mail and Spectre's Cowl into one item and call it the Armor of the Undying or something like that. At this point, we become almost unkillable. Anything else we build just reinforces what we already have, either an HP or ability haste. Once we reach this stage earlier in the game, we can do things like running around and healing from continuous damage. Imagine someone bursting all their damage right in your face and you come out with more HP than they had. Mysterious, isn't it? And they can't catch you. The thing I need to warn you about is power tripping. The more you play this build, the more confidence you'll gain, and the more reckless you may become. So my only advice is that when you get familiar with the build, try not to do overly risky plays. While it's fun, and the more we fight, the stronger we become thanks to Grasp, I'll likely start switching to Press the Attack to keep myself in check. Unless I feel more calm around the build, I'll start building accordingly to eliminate the mindset that every engagement will give me 5 HP, another bite for 5 HP, and another 4 seconds for 5 HP. Well, they almost lost us the Elder Drake. It was a close call for my team, but luckily our damage outsmarted Warwick. Go figure. It seems like Zeri is like Echo 2.0. She can really outsmart Warwick. Very weird game, but thanks to her, we're still in it and didn't lose much. To be honest, this call was quite risky, but I was a bit annoyed by my earlier death because we knew our strength. They didn't have Kaisa, so against a composition missing their main damage dealer, it was easier to secure some kills. With the Elder Drake, it became much easier for any of us to clean up kills on the map. We managed to win that fight, and I assume this will be the last play of the game. To wrap it up about the build, I believe this is the best setup for Volibear in the jungle if you want to play passively in the early game. Aim for just 3 ganks in the early game and focus on full clearing to reach your core items. After that, you can start fighting. If you're new to this build, I suggest going for Press the Attack or Lethal Tempo instead of Grasp of the Undying, as Grasp is pretty slow at the start of the game. But if you're like me and think it's cool to have Grasp of the Undying in your setup just for the name, then go for it. Hope you guys liked the video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment about your crazy builds. Until the next video, hopefully I'll come up with a spicy build to share. Thank you for watching, everyone. Take care and peace.